to look at a bandpass type of structure, particularly here is going to again be with an op-amp and also with real roots. And in this particular case, I want to do this now with resistors and inductors to kind of show that you can kind of do things. Normally we like to lean on capacitors and resistors, but just to show that it can work just fine with resistors and inductors at this point, having some nominal values there. And again, when we look at the structure, a couple things come into play. These two are in parallel. Those are going to be in the numerator. These two are in series. These go in the denominator. A little bit of math ensues. And what I end up finding is that I do get, again, a high pass part and a low pass part. Interestingly enough, as opposed to, say, a resistor capacitor case, these kind of got flipped a little bit. The L2 and R2 are related to the high pass, and these two are related to the low pass aspect of it. And therefore, we can get a transfer function that looks very familiar to what you might have seen had we done this with resistors and capacitors, but things kind of flipped around a little bit. So this works out fairly smoothly, though, that I still actually get a straightforward transfer function that is a high pass and a low pass. And I can then, of course, also look at its frequency response, and then calculating that both in terms of its magnitude. You see sort of typical minus 20 dB per decade drop, 20 dB per decade, or 20 dB per decade increase, or this is a derivative, this is integration. This almost reaches up to the gain of 10, and then I also see the phase go from minus 90 to minus 270. So we get a fairly straightforward structure in this whole problem, and actually it turns out to be a pretty good solution. So what is very interesting out of this is you might imagine, well, okay, I could do this in many ways, what should I pick? And a lot of that's going to be dependent on what sort of technical things I have more readily available. Do I have more inductors? Do I have more capacitors? What works? And that's what's really wonderful, is there's a lot of flexibility here to be able to work and design and build trade-offs depending on whatever you're kind of facing in a particular situation.